Well, here we go again, partner. The Cowboys just brought in another quarterback, Joe Milton, and before the ink even dried, some folks are already packing Dak Prescott's bags. Sound familiar? It should, because this isn't the first time the fan base has fallen into this same cycle of hype, hope, and heartbreak. Remember Trey Lance? Look, I know how it goes. A new name shows up with a rocket arm, elite size, flashy measurables, and boom. Suddenly, he's the future. But let's not pretend. This hasn't happened before. Trey Lance was supposed to be the guy who could shake up the QB room and challenge Dak. At least that's what some people hoped. But if we're being honest here, you and me, the way Trey was brought in, it wasn't about competition. It wasn't about long-term development. It was a power play. Jerry and Stephen Jones played the leverage game, bringing Lance in as a subtle warning shot to Dak right when contract talks were heating up. And you know what? That plan didn't just backfire. It fizzled before it even got started. Now, with Joe Milton walking through the door, we have to ask the hard question. Are we, as Cowboys fans, repeating the same mistake? Hey, let me know in the comments. Do you think Joe Milton will follow the same path as Trey Lance? Drop your vote below. A, he'll push Dak for real. B, just another camp arm. C, same story, different name. Because here's the truth, my friend, raw talent and potential are great, but without reps, without support, and, without a real shot, that talent means nothing. And speaking of Trey Lance, what actually happened to him in Dallas? How did a former top draft pick with all the tools end up with no job and no future with the Cowboys? Let's break that down, because this story runs deeper than most realize. All right, let's get into it. Because what happened with Trey Lance wasn't just a missed opportunity, it was a setup that never had a real chance to succeed. And the blame? It starts at the top, with Jerry and Stephen Jones. You saw it, I saw it, everyone saw it. Trey Lance didn't arrive in Dallas to be developed. He wasn't brought in with a clear plan, a coaching commitment, or even a long-term vision. No, he was dropped into the middle of a political game, nothing more than a bargaining chip in the never-ending saga of Dak Prescott's contract negotiations. Think about it. Trey was coming off a rough run in San Francisco. He barely played in college, and in the NFL, injuries robbed him of critical reps. But instead of giving him time and support, the Cowboys threw him into a system that was already built around Dak, with zero intention of letting him actually compete. It was all smoke and mirrors. And you remember the preseason. Lance barely saw the field. And when he did, he looked raw. Because of course he did. He hadn't had meaningful snaps in years. But instead of patience, what did he get? Criticism, mockery, headlines saying he should be sent to the CFL. That's how quickly the narrative turned. Let me ask you something straight up. Did you ever believe Trey Lance could be the future for the Cowboys? Be honest, because a lot of fans flipped fast, from excitement to eye rolls almost overnight. And the media? They didn't help. One day he was a hidden gem. The next, a failed project. No middle ground, no nuance, just headlines and hot takes. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Trey Lance was ever given a fair shot in Dallas? Yes, he was doomed from day one. No, he didn't show enough. Not sure. It was all too rushed to tell. Because here's the thing. Talent like Trey's doesn't just vanish. It needs structure. It needs nurturing. And most of all, it needs opportunity. And despite everything that went wrong in Dallas, something surprising happened. When everyone was ready to count him out, a new door opened in Los Angeles. Let me tell you what just changed for Trey Lance, and why it might be the comeback story no one saw coming. So here's the twist. Just when it felt like Trey Lance was about to disappear from the NFL radar, he signs a one-year deal with the Los Angeles Chargers. And get this, it's worth up to $6.2 million. That's not backup pocket change. That's a team saying, we see something in you. Now I know what you might be thinking. He's not walking into a starting job. True. But this isn't just about where he starts on the depth chart. This is about what this opportunity could become. Look, Trey has made around $34 million already in the league. So yeah, financially, the man is fine. But this is about legacy now, about proving he belongs. And if we go back to that final game of the Cowboys season against Washington, you saw it too, right? There was something different in his play. More poise, more control. The flashes were there. Maybe not enough to shift Dallas's opinion, but enough to raise eyebrows. Enough for a team like the Chargers, who are in transition and always on the lookout for talent, to give him a shot. And don't forget, stories like this do happen in the NFL. Think about quarterbacks who struggled early, bounced around, then finally landed in the right situation and took off. Geno Smith ring a bell? Hell, even Baker Mayfield found new life when people wrote him off. All it takes is the right moment, the right system, and a little patience. So now I want to hear from you. Do you believe Trey Lance still has a chance to become a starting quarterback in the NFL? A. Yes. He just needs the right system. B. No, the window's already closed. C. Maybe, but it's now or never. Drop your answer in the comments. I want to see where you stand. Because as we talk about second chances and fresh starts, we can't ignore the one guy who could have seen Trey as a threat, but didn't. Instead, he showed nothing but class and leadership. And that guy is Dak Prescott. What he did after Trey's departure, it speaks volumes, not just about Dak as a player, but as a man. Let me show you exactly what Dak said and why it matters more than you think. Let's be real. Dak Prescott had every reason to keep his distance from Trey Lance. After all, the front office brought Trey in as quiet pressure. A not-so-subtle reminder that Dak's job wasn't untouchable, that his contract was still a negotiation tool. And yet, despite all that, when Trey Lance signed with the Chargers, what did Dak do? He went straight to Instagram and posted a message that caught everyone's attention. Yes, sir. LFG A Trey Lance 09. That's it. Simple, but powerful. And if you know Dak, it's exactly the kind of man he is. No bitterness, no ego, just support. And honestly, that post said more about Dak than a press conference ever could. He didn't have to say anything, he wasn't obligated, but he chose to publicly lift up a guy who, let's not forget, was originally brought in to potentially replace him. Now I want you to sit with that for a second, because that kind of leadership, that kind of maturity, it's rare, especially in a league where competition can get ruthless and personal. Dak never let it become that. Remember when Dak took some of the offensive guys on a trip during the offseason? Yeah, he invited Trey. He brought him into the circle. He mentored him. That's not performative, that's not political, that's who Dak is. And here's the kicker, Dak didn't flinch. He wasn't insecure about the competition. He trusted his own game and still helped Trey grow behind the scenes. So here's a question for you. Does Dak Prescott deserve more respect from Cowboys Nation for the way he handled the Trey Lance situation? A. Yes, his leadership is unmatched. B. No, he's just doing his job. Not sure. Still needs to prove more on the field. Vote in the comments. I really want to know where you stand on this one, because no matter how you feel about Dak as a quarterback, what he showed during Trey's time in Dallas was character, and that matters just as much as stats when you're leading a team. Now with Trey in LA and Dak still holding the reins in Dallas, what's next for both of them? Let's take a step back and look at what this whole situation actually teaches us about loyalty, leadership, and the brutal truth of the NFL. You and I both know this league doesn't slow down for anyone. Trey Lance came in with sky-high expectations, a top draft pick, a rare athlete. And yet, here he is, fighting for his football life just a few seasons in. It's a reminder, right? In the NFL, hype doesn't protect you. Draft status won't save you. All that matters is what you do with the reps you get. And sometimes you don't even get the reps. But maybe the saddest part? A lot of fans gave up on him before he even had a real shot. The same folks who were hyped about Trey suddenly laughed him off the roster. That's how fast opinions turn in this game. It's brutal. That's why what Dak Prescott did matters so much. Because in a league where the pressure to protect your spot is relentless, Dak chose mentorship over rivalry. He chose support over silence. That says something, not just about him as a player, but as a man. And maybe that's the real takeaway from this whole story. You see, football isn't just about touchdowns and interceptions. It's about how you carry yourself when the spotlight fades. It's about respect, even when the business side tries to turn teammates into threats. So now I ask you, if you were in Jerry Jones' shoes, would you have handled Trey Lance's situation differently? Let me know in the comments. I really want to hear your take. And if you've been enjoying this conversation, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. Because here, on Cowboys News TV, we don't just talk headlines, we talk truth. Let's talk Cowboys. Here, we talk facts.